Powerful.
Powerful.
Yep. So what else? So it brought up that memory for you. Anything else? What message do you think this sends? Intentional or not?
Not all black people are ghetto. Because if you would have said somebody else daddy with their son, would have told the whole school.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
It kind of feels like what I look like matters more than my education.
Oh, wow. I'm going to give you some stuff. Okay, some of you familiar, so I was just stabbing my kids, said something profound. That was good. She said, what I look like matters more than my education. Right? Maybe that's a message that is sent to the 6-year-old boy.
Especially because he was so respectful and quiet. I mean, there's chaos. My dad's upset. I don't know what's happening. He didn't cry. He didn't break. He just stood and waited. And so I'm ready to be educated, even though you think my hair.
Right.
Look at my hair.
Right. So, and the thing is, well, and we don't know how, if this policy is applied fairly across our groups or not. We don't know. We just know this one moment with this one family, this one little boy is denied the opportunity to go to school. I don't know if I know that there in Florida, they've had a couple of groups have filed complaints and all that, and so they're looking into it. I don't know what has happened since then, but the bottom line is what it pulled out for me, right, was that there is this messaging, right, that something about me is wrong, right, is off, is not good enough. And I am concerned, this is just one example, right, but we have countless examples in our society today about the ways of who we are as black folks, or black culture is rejected, that there's something wrong, inherently wrong with either how we look, how we act, what we believe, what we do. And so I wanted to ask the question, what is it that the Bible has to say about that, right? Does our faith as Christians have anything to say back to this sort of awful messaging that we aren't good enough, how we look isn't good enough? I don't know about you, but I don't know if any of you in the room have ever been told either that you were too dark, or somebody suggested, oh, you're pretty for a dark girl, right? That's a very common phrase. Or, ladies, I don't know if you've ever been told that, you don't have enough curves. I can tell you very plainly, now this has nothing to do with me being black, it's just who I was. When I was growing up, I was very, very thin, like extremely thin. I actually meant to send Crystal a picture, but I won't. We won't show you. I was little. I don't even think I weighed 100 pounds until I was in graduate school, okay? So I was really, really small. And for the longest time, so during school, I was smaller than everybody. Like I always looked like I was 2 classes behind where I really was because I was short and really, really skinny. And I also didn't have breasts until I was like in college, right? So I used to get teased a lot behind that. People used to constantly talk about me, make fun of me, call me flat-chested, itty-bitty titty committee. I got called all kinds of names because of how I look, right? And we keeping it 100 in here today, right? She lost it. You weren't ready. That's okay. But this is the kind of stuff but people are told this. So this is not even just if you're black, right? Any of us can have these sort of things about how we physically look, and other people are telling us that how we look isn't good enough, or we're overweight, or you need to lose weight, you're big boned, or your bone structure isn't good, your lips are too big, or whatever. We get told all kinds of things. And this is why I wanted to look at this text today, because I think girlfriend in the text, and let's name her. Let's name her right quick. She's not giving a name in the text. Why don't y'all pick out a name right quick? What's her name?
Nicole.
Huh?
Nicole.
I didn't hear you.
Nicole.
Nicole, okay. So this is gonna be Nicole. Okay, so Nicole, I think, exudes a sort of confidence in herself that I think we can embrace, right? As Christians, we can decide we are going to take her same attitude. She says, I am black and beautiful, right? I am here, and the way that I look is just fine. It is beautiful, and everybody else gonna have to deal with it. I'm not gonna buy into the messaging that I'm not good enough, that I'm not pretty enough, that something is inherently wrong with me because other people don't get who I am. Why? How do I know this is a thing? Well, the fact that she even says it, right? Why even mention her skin color? Right? She says, I am black and beautiful. Do not look down on me because the sun has gazed on me. That's another way to say, do not hate my melanin. It's definitely popping, right? Do not look down on me because I have a darker skin complexion. It's okay for me to celebrate just who I am. And how do I know that I am beautiful? Well, she doesn't say this, but I don't know if I've ever read the book of Genesis, but the Bible says that when God made us, looked at us, God said that we were good. Like, end of story, end of conversation. So it doesn't really matter if you're short, you're tall, you're big-boned, you got big hips, you got no butt, you got whatever you got or don't got. All of it's just fine because God created you the way that God created you. But the other thing I like in this text is that she says, and we often get mixed up with this one because it's a very confusing line. She says, in verse 6, she says, my mother's sons were angry with me. They made me keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. And keep in mind, it's poetry, right? It's poetry. So we don't know exactly what she's talking about. Well, when I looked to the scholars, and I am indebted to Dr. Renita Weems, who is an Black woman Old Testament scholar, womanist scholar. She wrote this book, What Matters Most, 10 Lessons in Living Passionately from the Song of Solomon. She also wrote the commentary for the Song of Solomon in the New Interpreter's Bible commentary. But she deals with this verse a little bit. And some say that maybe this verse, because it says, my brothers were angry. They made me keep vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. Well, what is this verse talking about? Some say that it means that she was forced to work outside, and that is why the sun has darkened her complexion, right? This alone is, in its own way, is reminiscent of our history in slavery, right? Where you had this sort of separation, right? Where the field Negroes were working outside, right, in the fields, and they were darker. But if you were lighter skinned, you could work inside the house, and they were referred to as house Negroes. Right, so that speaks a little bit, it reminds us a little bit of that. So maybe this verse is simply talking about she's trying to explain why her skin is darker, right? Trying to make explanation of it. But still other scholars say, well, maybe no, it's something this. Remember, this is poetry. And it's possible that it could allude to the fact that in general she had no control over her body. Notice it says, my brothers made me work in vineyards, right? And my own vineyard I have not kept. And more specifically, scholars suggest that vineyard, that term vineyard, is really a metaphor for our bodies and our sexuality, suggesting that her body has been used to provide sexual pleasure for others. And this has been a negative experience for her, obviously, right? In a way, her body has been used against her. And this is reminiscent, too, of African-American experience in slavery, because Black women's bodies were not only used for sexual pleasure of their white masters sometimes, but also actually Black women's bodies and Black men's bodies were used to perpetuate slavery, right? Because at a certain point, they didn't even keep up with the slave trade because the slaves would produce, right? And that required, in other words, if they had to make sure the slaves kept reproducing themselves, they automatically were born into slavery. So we kind of hear a little bit of that echoing in this text at all. But regardless of which one of these things it means, and we don't know, and it's okay that we don't know, the point is that this woman is speaking to some things that she has been through, some struggles that she has had. If you read the entire book of the Song of Solomon, it ain't all roses and wonderful. She is talking a lot about the good things about her experience in love, but she also talks a lot about the difficulty she's had in love. And so you get a sense of her struggle. And you know, life will throw curveballs at you sometime and will have you questioning everything about yourself, your worth, your beauty, your strength, your value. But the blessing is that we don't have to listen to that negativity that's happening even in our own lives. And we don't have to be shaped negatively by the horrific things that we have experienced. Now, I don't know what it might have been for you. Maybe it was a breakup with somebody that you really loved, or maybe it was a hurtful word from a parent or a family member, or some abusive person you've had experience with, or maybe you were bullied in school, or maybe you didn't have many friends, or maybe you experienced the betrayal of a loved one. I don't know what it was, but sometimes we go through things that have us second guessing everything. But the blessing is, Sister Girl, I think, has some strategies us that will help us work our way through all of that. Regardless of your race, your gender, or any of your sort of identifiers, we all carry some insecurities and some things we might need to work through. Let's see what Sister Girl does for herself. Nicole, right? I keep forgetting. Her name's Nicole. The first thing I think she does is she really does speak value to herself. Notice that she is absolutely confident in who she is. How can she be so confident though? Is it because her hair is long? We don't know. Is it because she has pretty brown eyes? Word to me condition. Does she have pretty feet? Does she have dimples? How can she be so sure that she is beautiful? Well, she teaches us that we can look inside ourselves and determine that we are beautiful on our own. We don't need any external forces or voices or messages to tell us who we are. And the other cool part about this is that no other woman in the Bible describes herself as black. And when she does it, she says, and beautiful. Now, some versions will say, but beautiful. Probably a better translation from the Hebrew is and beautiful, right? She says that, and note what she says. This is really important. She says she is dark like the tents of Kedar and the curtains of Solomon, right? What, y'all looking like, what does that mean, right? Well, let me break it down. She says,